Well, hello everyone, this is Jeff Clark with another airline unboxing video. I just recently received this model from Collectible Jets, who I've been buying quite a number of models from. But they seem to generally have what I want in stock. And this is a re-release of 2018, I believe, or it could be just one that's just come out more recently than that. It was previously released in 2013 by Gemini Jets, and this is the new release, so I was anxious to get the newer one just because some of the features they've been adding to the models, like the jewel lights and things like that. Sometimes it's nice to have the first release, but still I think it's better to have the latest release with all the new and exciting features. So this is a Gemini 200 model from Gemini Jets, and they are one of the premier manufacturers of these models. And I've got a number of Gemini Jets models from them. They're just very good quality and have a lot of the features I like. This is G2DAL 625. The registration on this aircraft is going to be N704DK. I recently flew from Amsterdam to Detroit, and I flew on a similar 777-200 LR that was N706DN, and this is basically has the same exact features as that. So let's check it out. We've got this flip top lid here, which is kind of cool. I don't have very many of those, but it's kind of nice to see the details there and look inside the case. If we look here, there is also a bunch of information on the lid of the box as well, which will be nice to check out if anybody wants to read that. It's pretty good information regarding the development of the 777-200, and the 777-200 is the LR version, is one of the longest range aircraft that there currently is. It has a considerable amount more mileage than it can achieve than versus the 777-300 ER by a pretty good measure. Cool. Okay, we got the metal stand here. I wish they would put something on there to make it more interesting other than just the plate, but it is what it is. Some of the newer models are more specific models of special interest will have something on there. JC Wings has been putting a plate on there, and in flight as well, so hopefully Gemini will get on track with that pretty soon. This is the pin that holds the model, and this little pad saves the model from getting scratched by the stand. Usually the stand will fit perfectly underneath there, but sometimes the model will have a tendency to want to rest on one edge, so it's nice to have that there. So we got this protective layer of plastic, and we have our gear, which is in this separate package, which I will install here in a little bit. There's also, let's see, do they have the tools in there? Nope, I don't see any tools in there. Sometimes they put a little toothpick or something in there, but the gear also has the partial registration on there, or the fleet number for Delta Airlines on it. Here's the toothpicks, and then covers if you want to do an in-flight pose. This cover also has the number on it too, so that it looks like the doors are shut. Got the layer of protective plastic on the bottom. A little bit of packing grease, it looks like. But I always like to just check out the model and make sure there's no obvious defects anywhere. Make sure all the pieces are there, the engines are attached, the antennas are there. These models are still available, so I think they've been out for a little over a month. So if you want to pick one of these up. So let's take a look at the model here. Cockpit windows and the wipers, radome cover. 777 is one of my favorite aircraft. It's really cool. It has very powerful engines. It can travel a long way. It's got an interesting looking shape. Here we can see our pitot tubes and static ports there. Now, Delta was one of the founding members of, or the founding member of SkyTeam Alliance, along with KLM and Air France. Here's the L1 door. SkyTeam has a total of 22 members. The L1 door mechanism is nicely done there. There's also the Delta logo, the Delta widget. Here's some more static ports here. And below the L2 door as well. Now this one right here is actually a light. There's one on each side. This is the Wi-Fi box. This is a GoGo Wi-Fi system. And a VHF antenna. It's AirCell Wi-Fi. Auto direction finder antennas, 2 of them in a pair, obviously. These aren't raised up. Normally on the real aircraft they would be raised up in 3 dimensions. Likewise with this is the satellite communications antenna. The GoGo Wi-Fi is also a sat box, but it's for Wi-Fi. And then this is the one that the engines and the aircraft use to communicate with the ground. It's another VHF antenna, this one. This is the ELT antenna, emergency locator transmitter antenna. And there's a couple of UHF antennas on the leading edge there of the vertical stabilizer. '7104 is the fleet number. Vertical stabilizer. Rudder tab and the rudder. Nice 3D grooving there to show it. APU exhaust hole. There's also a strobe light on the tail there. This is an actual hole. It's not just painted on. Here's the APU exhaust doors. Or, excuse me, the APU access doors. And on the other side, this box here is the APU door, which will open up when the APU is in operation to draw in fresh air. The tail looks good, although we do have, looks like some kind of mark here. See if I can polish that off and see if it goes away. Rudder or tail illumination light. And the elevator. And then this whole horizontal stabilizer pivots like this, so they've got these gradient marks over here on the side to show you, well, to show where their location is. As the center of gravity changes of the aircraft during fuel burn, they are able to adjust the trim to account for that. Delta is a flag carrier of the United States. Got our registration here. This is the pressure release valve. Now down here I do see this marking here, which I'm not sure. Looks like a scuff of something. So I don't think that's going to polish out. Now when I flew on this aircraft, I was in 57A, which is this absolute last window right here. And the only downside of sitting that far back is that they're usually run out of the good food by the time they get to you. There's no ring walkway because there is no door. Here are the flaps and the spoilers. Another set of spoilers here, plus our ailerons, or maybe flaps, excuse me, sorry. Here's the vent for the wing fuel tanks, and then these are the ailerons. Now the 200 LR does have a rigged wingtip, as does the 300 ER variant of the 777. We've got our red navigation light here, which is on the port side. There's also a strobe light on the tip of the wing, and then there's also a position light that's white on the trailing edge of the wingtip device. Underneath, better view of the drain valve there. Nicely painted with the metal, I like that. This model seems to have a few little blemishes here and there on the paint. Really nice done markings there on the engine, showing you the blocker doors hinging, or where the hinges are, or the slide. This is painted on, this little metal fixture here. It's not an actual separate part, which some of the models are. And I like the nice blue belly there, that's pretty cool. Now these engines are the GE90s, the 110 B1Ls, and these produce 115,000 pounds of thrust, which is the same as the 300 ER. You can see they've got a nice little bit of a slant on the front of the engine there. Flap track fairings look nice. You can see our flaps again here. This is the flaperon, this little control surface in between the two sets of flaps. It does a lot of the work of the controlling roll of the aircraft. Fuel dump valve and that raked wingtip again. And then we got the green navigation light on this side. And there'll be another strobe and then a position light right here on the trailing edge. Let's look at the underside. Emergency access door there in the front. Little ladder comes down, and then there's the avionics bay, which is sitting underneath the cockpit. The nose gear doors. Pressure release valve, this little square. And there's also numerous antennas, air traffic control antennas and GPS antennas that are on the surface here, but they're not shown on the model, or tend to not be. Sometimes just with some markings of paint. I think this is a drain here. Anti-collision beacon. Exhaust for the AC packs. Here are the doors for the landing gear. This is the door to the ram air turbine, which can drop out and spins in the wind, generating power to run the controls and such. Vhf antenna. I think this is a DME antenna. There's that pressure release valve there. And then the Apu housing doors, as we saw earlier. Look at the starboard side here. Always more going on over here because you've got the loading doors for the cargo. Here's our sky team again. This is a light. This is a light. Static ports. You can also see some there in the blend of the paint. The old livery used to have 7 colors. This one has 3. So they were able to save a chunk of money on paint and the effort required to put the paint on. There's a knock duct here, which you can just about make out. Both sides. There's our US flag, although not sure why it's backwards. And the registration. Very cool. So this is really nice. I like the bold colors there. The blue and the white really go well together. So this livery came out in 2007. And it's the Delta widget. Very striking on that tail. And when you're in Amsterdam, you see plenty of them because the Delta Airlines flies lots of flights out of Amsterdam. It's their European hub access point, so it's definitely a good place to go. And the terminal was a pretty nice space too. And it's the first time I've been through Amsterdam, so it was kind of cool to check that out. Look at those giant fans in there. And we'll blow some air across those and see if we can get them to spin. But first, let's get this gear on. Well, let's put this gear on here. The main gear looks nice and straight, which is what we want. These roll, and they also tilt. The 777 has a very up-pointing set of wheels that make it very characteristic when you see it coming in for landing. And actually the rear wheels on the 777 are able to turn so that there's less scrubbing of the larger aircraft. Scrubbing of the tires as in skidding sideways as the aircraft turns. Check out the nose gear here. Those numbers look really good. It's pivots, but it's a bit loose so it doesn't stay in position. And look at those nose gear lights. They got the landing lights and the taxi lights really nicely done with the jewels there. All four of them. Super cool. But the wing gear or the wing landing light does not have a jewel, which surprises me actually, because Gemini have been putting them in a lot of their models. So is JC Wings, and Aviation Retail Direct have been a little or in-flight have been a little slow to pick up the pace, but I'll have a model coming from them pretty soon, so I'll be able to see if they've upgraded that yet. So as I said, there's still a few of these available. Try to get your hands on one. The 200 LR variant is a bit rarer than the 300 ER and the 200 ER. So a little background on Delta Airlines. They were actually started as Huff to Land Dusters in 1924 in Macon, Georgia. And then later moved to Monroe, Louisiana in 1925. A guy named Colette Woolman purchased them on September 13th, 1928, and then changed the name to Delta Air Service. Their first flight was June 17th, 1929, and that was from Dallas to Jackson, Mississippi. In 1941, they moved to Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson International Airport. They got some international routes in the 70s and 80s, and then merged with Northwest Airlines on April 14th, 2008. Northwest Airlines retired in 2010 on January the 31st there, and Delta acquired a lot of their aircraft. They used to be an all Boeing and McDonnell Douglas fleet until the acquisition of Northwest Airlines, and then they got a lot of Airbus A330s from that deal. And they're currently the only operator of the A350, Airbus A350, which I was actually supposed to fly on this route from Schiphol to Detroit, but they changed the type on me on like the day of the flight I was going to take. So I'd originally booked this whole flight with the plan on riding on the A350, and then they changed it around on me. So, but it was the first time I've flown on the 200 LR variant of the 777, so that was kind of fun too. Nice to have the seat that I did way in the back there. It was a pretty comfortable ride, and it's a daytime flight, so there's sort of somewhat plenty of things to see out the window once you reach Canada and flying over Greenland and such. So the headquarters of Delta Airlines is in Atlanta, Georgia now. They have 304 destinations in 52 countries, and as I mentioned earlier with SkyTeam, they are one of the founding members. They're the oldest airline in the United States, and they kind of harken back to the days of Northwest Airlines again as well, because Northwest Airlines kind of started flying back in those early days of the 20s as well. They are the world's second largest airline by fleet number and by number of employees, right behind American Airlines, which is the largest airline in the world. This aircraft, serial number 29739, line number 772. This is a 777-232 LR, first flown on March 3rd, 2009, which is anniversary coming up pretty soon, and delivered on March 27th, 2009. This aircraft has business class seating, 37 of those, and those are in the front portion of this aircraft. When I got on, we got onto this L2 door over here, and there was the whole business class section there. Then they have 36 of the the upgraded economy, premium economy seats. I was in a World Traveler class, which does not give you access to any upgrades to your seat, even if you want to pay for it. So those seats are here in this forward section. And then the rest of the aircraft is devoted to economy class seats, 218 of those. And then it's in a 10Y configuration, 343. 57 with the row I was in only has 2 seats, because there's the galley in between, as well as the lavatories, and then there's the crew rest area on the other side, so there's a little bit of less access to that row, which is kind of nice. There's only 2 seats in that row. I did have somebody sitting next to me, so but I had the window seat, which was nice, and they got pretty nice services. So I'm glad to see that the gear and everything looks good. A little disappointing about some of these little marks and scrapes and such, but it's kind of one of those things. Is it worth sending it all the way back and getting a replacement and messing about with it? So we'll see what happens. Most likely I'll get used to it, but it's a great 777 to have. This is my first wide body 777. I don't fly Delta very much, so I was glad to get another aircraft under my belt and another carrier. So that was kind of nice. I'm up to 33 different carriers I've flown now, and over 100 different aircraft types. So pretty slick. Good to have this one in the conversation. So the LR is actually for longer range. It entered service in 2006, and it's quite a bit larger capabilities than the 777-300ER. So it was called the World Liner because it can connect almost any 2 cities in the world, and it holds the record for the longest flight by a commercial airliner. It has extra fuel in the cargo hold, which allows it to achieve that range of 8,555 miles, which is quite a bit larger than the 7,370 miles that the 300ER does. I think that longest flight is from Doha, Qatar to Auckland, New Zealand. And I think it's on Qatar Airways. Really love the raked wingtip. 4 doors on each side of the 200 versus the 5 that are on the 300. They only made a total of 59 200 LRs, and Delta has 10 of those. So there's not very many. This is so it makes this model that much more rare of the real aircraft, because it's kind of a little bit of a one-off, you know. See the stand here. Looks good. Always want to make sure it sits on the stand nice and straight. So this aircraft has a length of 209 feet 1 inches. The 300 ER has a range or a length of 242 feet. So it's quite a bit shorter, 30 feet shorter. Wingspan is the same as the 300 ER at 212 feet 7 inches. The tail is slightly taller than the 300 ER in that it's 61 feet 1 inch. Usually a shorter aircraft needs a taller tail. And the maximum takeoff weight of this, 766,000 pounds. Man, that is over 380 tons. Incredible. Fuel weight alone, 320,000 pounds. That's 160 tons. And this is the Upward and Onward livery. And harkens back to their history in the Mississippi Delta. See if these fans turn. Oh yeah. Really good. Wow, those things cruise really good. Nice. Slick. Alright, so a great model. The spinning fan blades tops it all off. It's nice to have flown on this particular type and this particular livery, 200 LR, just a few weeks ago. Very nice. Got my logbook signed as well by the pilot, which is always another kind of bonus to have on there. Another good model to add to the collection. Well, thanks for watching. Please comment on this video if you liked it. Send me a message. Always good to hear from people, fellow collectors as well. Let me know if you're going to get this model as well. Thanks for watching.